In the depths of the Andromeda Nebula, behind a curtain of stellar dust and radiation that had kept them hidden for 3 millennia, humanity stirred. The massive arc ships of the Phoenix Fleet, each one a city-sized testament to human perseverance, hummed to life. Inside the command deck of the flagship Prometheus, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display of their target, the Galactic Council's central systems. 3,000 years, she whispered, her augmented eyes scanning the tactical readouts. 3,000 years of preparation, of building, of waiting. And now we're ready. The Council had thought they'd eliminated humanity when they destroyed Earth, turning humanity's cradle into an asteroid field. They'd celebrated their victory, erased humanity from their histories, and continued their reign over the galaxy. But they'd missed something crucial. Humans were cockroaches, survivors. While the Council hunted for remnants of humanity in known space, the survivors had fled to the darkness between galaxies, taking with them the seeds of their civilization and their burning desire for revenge. Captain James Rodriguez, Chen's second-in-command, approached with a datapad. His synthetic arm, a marvel of human biomechanical engineering, interfaced directly with the ship's systems as he pulled up the latest intelligence reports. The Council's defensive networks haven't changed in centuries. They've grown complacent, Admiral. Their ships still use the same quantum-fold drives they used to destroy Earth. Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. And we've spent 3,000 years learning how to counter every single one of their advantages. Show me the Lazarus Protocol status. The holographic display shifted, showing a massive network of quantum-entangled satellites ready to be deployed across Council space. Each one contained technology that would have seemed like magic to their ancestors on Earth, and would seem like magic to the Council now. The Lazarus Protocol wasn't just a weapon, it was humanity's declaration that they were done hiding. All systems are green, Rodriguez confirmed. The Council won't know what hit them until it's too late. We can shut down their quantum communications, strand their fleets, and isolate their worlds one by one. In the 3 millennia since Earth's destruction, humanity had evolved. Both technologically and biologically, they had remade themselves. Genetic engineering had enhanced their bodies and minds. Nanotechnology had become an extension of their will. The quantum sciences that the Council had used to destroy Earth had been mastered and surpassed. Begin the countdown, Chen ordered. Alert all ships in the Phoenix Fleet. Deployment in 30 minutes. As the order spread through the fleet, Chen remembered the stories passed down through generations. Stories of Earth, of blue skies and vast oceans, of cities that stretched to the horizons. Stories of the day the Council ships appeared in orbit, demanding humanity's submission to their rule. Stories of the resistance, futile as it was against the Council's advanced technology. And finally, stories of the Exodus, the desperate flight of the surviving ships, carrying barely 1 million humans to the darkness between the stars. Those stories had kept the flame of revenge burning for 3,000 years. They had driven humanity to remake themselves, to advance beyond anything the Council could imagine. The Council thought they had destroyed a primitive species barely capable of interstellar flight. They were about to face something far more dangerous, a humanity that had spent 3 millennia preparing for this very moment. Message from engineering, Rodriguez announced. The quantum mirrors are aligned. We can begin Phase 1 whenever you're ready. Chen nodded, her augmented eyes glowing slightly as she interfaced with the ship's eye. Around her, the bridge crew, each one a product of centuries of genetic enhancement and technological integration, prepared for humanity's return to the galactic stage. Send the signal, she commanded. Let's remind the galaxy why they feared us enough to try to destroy us. Across the Phoenix Fleet, thousands of ships awakened fully. Quantum drives spun up, reality warping fields began to form, and weapons that could reshape the fabric of space itself came online. Humanity wasn't just returning to claim revenge. They were returning to claim their place among the stars. And this time, they weren't asking for permission. As the countdown reached 0, Chen gave the final order. The Phoenix fleet vanished from their hidden sanctuary, diving into quantum space. Their first target, the Council's prideful capital world of Axiom Prime. The Council was about to learn that their greatest mistake wasn't trying to destroy humanity. It was failing to finish the job. The awakening had begun, and with it, the galaxy would never be the same. The Axiom Prime defense grid was considered impenetrable. Layers of quantum-enhanced shields, automated defense platforms, and patrol fleets had protected the Galactic Council's capital for millennia. No hostile force had ever breached its defenses. But then again, no force had ever struck quite like this. The first sign that something was wrong came when the quantum communication networks went dark. Throughout the Axiom system, ships suddenly lost contact with each other. The defense grid's coordinated response protocols failed as each unit found itself isolated, cut off from Central Command. In the Council's Central Command Tower, High Counselor Vex Thor's scales rippled with agitation as reports flooded in. "What do you mean, complete communications blackout? That's impossible. Our quantum network is unhackable." But it wasn't just communications. Across the system, quantum drives began to fail. Ships found themselves unable to enter quantum space, stranded wherever they happened to be. The Council's mighty fleet, spread across the system in standard patrol formation, was suddenly fragmented and vulnerable. And that's when humanity struck. The Phoenix fleet emerged from quantum space inside the defense grid, something that should have been impossible. They appeared like ghosts, their ships wrapped in fields that bent both light and reality around them. Before the Council's forces could react, the human vessels were already among them. Admiral Chen watched from the Prometheus's bridge as the first phase of their attack unfolded. Status report on the Lazarus Protocol. Working perfectly, Rodriguez confirmed. Their quantum tech is completely neutralized. They're fighting blind, deaf, and with one arm tied behind their back. The Phoenix fleet moved with surgical precision. Their weapons, products of 3,000 years of development in exile, carved through the Council's supposedly impenetrable shields like they weren't there. Nanite swarms poured from human ships, consuming Council technology and turning it against its masters. Ships that had once been the pride of the Council's fleet found their own systems revolting against them. But this wasn't a battle of simple technological superiority. This was humanity showing the fruits of 3 millennia of evolution and preparation. Each human ship moved with perfect coordination, despite the quantum blackout, linked by technologies the Council couldn't even detect, let alone counter. Message from ground forces, Rodriguez reported. Teams are in position. The Council still hasn't realized we've already infiltrated their capital. Chen nodded. While the space battle drew attention, human infiltrators were already moving through Axiom Prime's cities. They walked among the Council races, their biomechanical enhancements allowing them to perfectly mimic any species. Some had been in place for years, gathering intelligence, waiting for this moment. "Begin Phase 2, Chen ordered. "Let's show them exactly what humanity has become." Across Axiom Prime, quantum nullification fields activated, hidden in plain sight for years. The planet's defensive systems crashed. Its automated security forces went offline. The mighty capital of the Galactic Council found itself as vulnerable as Earth had been 3,000 years ago. In the Council chamber, panic was setting in. The mighty rulers of the galaxy were facing an enemy that seemed to negate their every advantage, predict their every move. An enemy that struck from shadows they hadn't even known existed. "It's impossible," one counselor whispered, watching through the chamber's windows as human ships systematically dismantled their fleet. "They were primitives. We destroyed them." "No," Vex Thor replied, his ancient eyes finally recognizing the truth. "We forced them to become something far more dangerous." The battle for Axiom Prime lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the Council's capital was under complete human control. Their mighty fleet was in ruins, their defenses were neutralized, and their leaders were trapped in their own chambers. But humanity didn't destroy the city. They didn't kill the Council members. Instead, they demonstrated something far more terrifying: complete and utter superiority. "Send the message," Chen commanded as the last pockets of resistance fell silent. "Make sure every world in Council space can hear it. Across the galaxy, on every quantum channel, on every communication frequency, a simple message began to play. 3,000 years ago, you tried to erase humanity from history. Today, we return to write its next chapter. The galaxy will learn what humanity has become, and why you were right to fear us." The silent strike had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations, but this was just the beginning. Humanity hadn't returned merely for revenge. They had returned to reshape the galaxy itself. In the aftermath of Axiom Prime's fall, the remaining Council worlds erupted into chaos. The mighty Galactic Council, which had ruled unopposed for millennia, found itself facing an unprecedented crisis. Emergency sessions were called on 1,000 worlds as the various races that made up the Council tried to comprehend what had just happened. On the fortress world of Centauri X, the Council's military command had established an emergency headquarters. General Krasthul, Supreme Commander of the Council's armed forces, stood before a holographic display showing the extent of humanity's attack. Red markers indicated systems where quantum communications had gone dark, where fleets had been stranded, where defenses had mysteriously failed. "They're not just attacking our military assets," Krasthul growled, his satiri arms clenched in frustration. "They're systematically dismantling our entire power structure. Every technology we've relied on for dominance. They'd found a way to turn it against us." Around the command table, representatives from the Council's major military powers gathered. The arthropodal hive mind of the Exaraxians buzzed with nervous energy. The crystalline luminars pulsed with agitated light patterns. The biotechnological Vormarians oozed stress hormones that filled the air with an acrid scent. "How?" demanded Arch-Commander Silax of the Luminar fleet. "How did they advance so far beyond us in just 3,000 years? We had a 10,000-year head start." The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Ixel, a Vormarian xenorchaeologist who had spent centuries studying the ruins of Earth, stepped forward. Her biomechanical tendrils interfaced with the holographic display, pulling up ancient records. "We made a fundamental mistake," she explained, her voice resonating through her translation field. "When we destroyed Earth, we thought we were eliminating a primitive species, but look at their advancement curve in the decades before we attacked." The display showed humanity's technological progression. While other species had developed gradually over millennia, humanity had shown explosive growth. In just a few centuries, they had gone from primitive chemical rockets to the beginnings of quantum technology. "They were on the verge of a technological singularity," Dr. Ixel continued. "By attacking them, we didn't stop their advancement. We accelerated it. We gave them a unified purpose, a common enemy. We forced them to evolve or die." The implication sent shockwaves through the command center. The Council hadn't just failed to destroy humanity. They had created their own worst nightmare, a species that combined explosive technological growth with an unquenchable thirst for revenge. "The Lazarus Protocol," Krasthul mused, studying reports from Axiom Prime. "That's what they called the weapon that disabled our quantum technology. But it's more than just a weapon, isn't it?" Dr. Ixel's tendrils writhed with excitement. "It's a fundamental reimagining of quantum physics itself. They didn't just advance along our technological path. They found entirely new paths we never even imagined. While we spent 3,000 years refining existing technologies, they were revolutionizing the very foundations of science." The military implications were staggering. The Council's forces still outnumbered humanity's fleet many times over, but numbers meant nothing if their technology could be neutralized with a thought. Their mighty quantum drives, their impenetrable shields, their instantaneous communications, all could be rendered useless by human technology. "We need to strike back now," Silax insisted, his crystalline form flashing with aggressive patterns. "While we still have forces they haven't neutralized, we can't let them dictate the terms of this conflict." But before any orders could be given, the holographic display flickered. Every screen in the command center lit up with the same message. Attention Council forces. We know you've established your emergency command on Centauri X. We've known for hours. We could have struck at any time. Remember that. The message was followed by sensor readings showing human ships in orbit, ships that had somehow remained completely undetected by the planet's defense grid. They had been there the entire time, watching, listening. Krasthul's scales paled. The humans weren't just fighting a war, they were sending a message. Every move was calculated not just for military advantage, but for psychological impact. They wanted the Council to understand just how completely outmatched they were. They're not just seeking revenge, Dr. Ixel whispered, her scientific curiosity warring with her fear. They're reshaping the balance of power in the galaxy, and we have no way to stop them. As if to emphasize her point, quantum communications across 3 more sectors went dark. The Council's mighty empire was being dismantled piece by piece, and their only option was to watch it happen. The question was no longer whether they could defeat humanity. The question was whether humanity would allow any part of the old order to survive at all. The Council's last desperate gambit came not with a thunderous declaration, but with quiet determination. In the Orion Arm, the largest gathering of Council ships in galactic history assembled in secret. 10,000 warships, drawn from every member race, prepared for one final attempt to halt humanity's inexorable advance. Admiral Chen watched the massive fleet's movements from the Prometheus's command deck, her augmented vision processing the tactical data in real time. "They're doing exactly what we expected," she noted, her voice carrying a hint of almost disappointment. "Gathering their forces for one decisive battle." "They don't have much choice," Rodriguez replied, his synthetic arm interfacing with the ship's systems. "We've neutralized their quantum advantage. Traditional numbers and firepower are all they have left." The Council fleet was impressive, even by human standards. Ships of every size and configuration, from crystalline luminar dreadnoughts to the organic hive ships of the Xeraxians, moved in perfect formation. Their combined firepower could reduce a planet to atoms. In any other circumstance, it would have been an unstoppable force. But humanity had spent 3,000 years preparing for this moment. "Begin the sequence," Chen ordered. Across the Phoenix fleet, new systems came online. Technologies that had never been used in actual combat before. This was the moment humanity would reveal their true capabilities. The Council fleet struck first, launching a coordinated attack that would have annihilated any conventional opposition. Energy beams capable of cutting through moons lashed out. Gravity weapons distorted space itself. Biological weapons that could consume entire fleets were deployed. But the Phoenix fleet didn't dodge. They didn't raise shields. They didn't need to. "Reality anchor points established," Rodriguez reported calmly. "Quantum field stabilization at maximum. They're firing into nothing." The Council's weapons simply ceased to exist as they approached the human ships. It wasn't that they were blocked or absorbed. They simply failed to maintain coherence in the altered space around the Phoenix fleet. 3,000 years of technological development had given humanity control over the fundamental forces of reality itself. "Send the message," Chen commanded. "Let's show them what humanity has truly become." The Phoenix fleet began to move, but they didn't move through space. They moved with space. Reality itself seemed to fold around them, allowing them to be everywhere and nowhere at once. The Council fleet's formation, designed to counter conventional attacks, meant nothing against an enemy that could ignore the basic laws of physics. From his flagship, General Krasthul watched in horror as human vessels simply appeared within his fleet's formation, passing through shields and armor as if they were illusions. "Impossible," he whispered. "This violates every law of physics we know." "That's the point," came a transmission from the Prometheus. "You've spent millennia working within the laws of physics as you understand them. We were forced to find new laws." The battle, if it could even be called that, was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, they wielded forces that the Council couldn't even comprehend. Ships were reduced to their component atoms. Others were trapped in time loops, forever repeating the same moment. Some simply ceased to exist, erased not just from space, but from reality itself. "We could destroy every ship in your fleet." Chen's voice echoed across all frequencies. "We could erase your civilization from history, just as you try to erase us. But that's not why we're here." As if to demonstrate her point, the Phoenix fleet's attack stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Of the 10,000 Council ships that had assembled for battle, 8,000 remained, damaged, disoriented, but intact. 3,000 years ago, you proved you could destroy. Today, we prove we can create. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your defenses cannot stop us. But we choose to show mercy, something you never showed us. The remaining Council ships hung motionless in space, their crews watching in stunned silence as human vessels moved among them with impunity. This wasn't just a demonstration of superior technology. It was a complete rewriting of what was possible. "The old Council is finished," Chen declared. "The galaxy needs a new order, one built on understanding and cooperation, not dominance and fear. You tried to destroy humanity because you feared what we might become. Now you'll help us build something better than either of us could create alone." Across the battlefield, Council ships began powering down their weapons, not in surrender, but in recognition. They had witnessed something beyond their comprehension, a species that had transcended the very limits of reality itself. The reckoning was complete, but it wasn't the end humanity sought. It was a beginning. 1 year after the Battle of the Orion Arm, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The great halls of Axiom Prime, once the exclusive domain of the Council elite, now hosted representatives from every spacefaring race, including many that had been deemed too primitive for membership in the old order. Admiral Chen, now serving as humanity's representative to the new Galactic Assembly, stood at the same window where Vex Thor had watched his empire crumble. The city below was transformed. Human quantum technology had been selectively shared, revolutionizing everything from transportation to medicine. Ships of all species moved through the skies, their quantum drives now operating on principles that wouldn't have been possible under the old Council's restricted technology. "The latest reports from the integration teams are promising," Rodriguez said, approaching with his customary datavat. "The Xeraxian hives have successfully adapted our reality anchoring technology to stabilize their quantum tunnels. The Luminars are already pushing the boundaries of what we thought possible with crystalline computing." Chen nodded, watching a group of young Vormerians interfacing with human-designed quantum systems in a public square below. "And the terraforming of Earth. Ahead of schedule. The quantum reconstruction matrices are rebuilding the planet atom by atom, exactly as it was before the destruction. We estimate it will be habitable again within 5 years." The recreation of Earth was more than just a technical achievement. It was a symbol. Humanity wasn't just reversing what the Council had done. They were proving that nothing was truly irreversible, that destruction could be undone, that mistakes could be corrected. In the assembly chambers, former Council races worked alongside species they had once deemed unworthy of notice. The hive mind of the Xeraxians had discovered that human quantum consciousness technology allowed them to share thoughts with individual minds without absorbing them. The Luminars found that their crystalline technology, combined with human quantum principles, could create entirely new forms of consciousness. "There's something poetic about it," mused Dr. Ixel, who had become one of the strongest advocates for cooperation between species. Her biomechanical tendrils now incorporated human quantum tech, allowing her to perceive reality in ways her ancestors could never have imagined. "The Council tried to destroy humanity because they feared what you might become. In doing so, they caused you to become something far greater, but also far wiser than they feared. The human fleet remained the most powerful force in the galaxy, but it was no longer needed for peacekeeping. The Lazarus Protocol, once a weapon, had been transformed into a galaxy-wide quantum management system. ensuring that no species could use technology to dominate others. Instead, advancement came through cooperation and mutual understanding. We've received another dozen applications for technological integration programs, Rodriguez reported, including 3 from species that haven't even achieved spaceflight yet. They've seen what cooperation with humanity has done for other races. Chen turned from the window, her augmented eyes taking in the magnificent vista of the assembly chamber. And the opposition movement. Dwindling. It's hard to maintain fear and hatred when they can see their civilizations advancing centuries in the span of months. The last holdouts are realizing that we meant what we said. We're not here to rule. We're here to elevate. That had been the hardest thing for many of the former council races to understand. They had operated on the principle that power must be hoarded, that advancement must be controlled. Humanity had shown them a different way. That true power came from sharing knowledge, from lifting others up rather than holding them down. In orbit around Axiom Prime, the Prometheus had been transformed into a museum and educational center. Its quantum drives and reality warping technologies were now studied by students from across the galaxy. The ship that had led humanity's return was now leading the galaxy's advancement. Message from Earth Reconstruction Team, Rodriguez said, his synthetic arm projecting a hologram. They've successfully reconstructed the first ocean. The water is exactly as our records showed, right down to the salt content and wave patterns. Chen smiled, a real smile this time, not the cold expression she had worn during the campaign of revenge. Schedule my next inspection for next week. I want to see it personally. The galaxy was entering a new age. The knowledge that humanity had gained during their 3,000 years of exile was being shared, transformed, and built upon by thousands of species working together. The advancement that the old council had feared was happening, but not as a force for destruction. Instead, it was lifting all species to new heights of understanding and capability. We did it, Chen said softly, watching ships from a dozen species quantum shift in perfect harmony above the city. We came back for revenge, but we achieved something far greater. We proved that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our adaptability. It's our ability to rise above our pain, Rodriguez finished, to turn suffering into growth, hatred into progress. The sun was setting on Axiom Prime, its light refracting through quantum-enhanced atmospheric shields that turned the sky into a kaleidoscope of colors. But it wasn't an ending. It was, as humanity had promised, a new beginning. The galaxy had learned why they had been right to fear humanity, but they had also learned why they had been wrong about what humanity would become.